This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
And welcome to Fruitloops. Buiti binafi and bienvenidos, bitches. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
Fruitloops is a podcast about true crimes committed by people of color and those who are othered and the victims, because there are, believe it or not, systems, institutions, and patterns in society that gatekeep this information. But we're going to give it to you straight, no chaser. The truth is, we're all capable of doing very shitty stuff.
Yep.
And all victims deserve to have their stories told. These crimes rarely get any public attention because, in the simplest of terms, the news is racist. Allegedly.
And we are Wendy and Beth. She's Wendy, a Black Latinx woman, and I'm Beth, and I just happen to be white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's just a little piece of who we are.
Oh, yes.
But who we are not is journalists, investigators, or psychologists. We're just a couple of gals interested in true crime. Also, the opinions expressed in this podcast are just that, our opinions.
So, who are we talking about today, friend?
Well, this is our episode 247, and it's about Heather Mack, who is often referred to as the suitcase killer. And she and her boyfriend, Tommy Shaeffer, murdered her mother and then stuffed her body in a suitcase.
All right. Well, before we get into the travel of it all, how you doing?
I'm all right. We're recording this on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I am really, really looking forward to those 4 days off from work because it's been
That's
rough.
all I care about. That is all I care about.
Off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to say, Magic Mind has been helping me a lot. I feel like my focus is even better than before. So last week we talked about, how it was helping us and how we were going to keep taking it and then see how we're doing this week.
Yeah.
And my energy is doing great.
Considering
I'm running myself ragged at work.
Yeah.
But what I like best about it is that I don't have any jitters.
Right. Yeah.
And another cool thing I found out is that each bottle, so you take one bottle a day in the morning, and it contains 100% of your daily vitamin C and D. And
that's unheard of.
I know.
In a supplement. Yeah.
We need that C this time of year because everyone around us is getting sick.
Oh,
my daughter was sick all weekend.
Keep
and
those coughs
I'm fine.
away from me.
Yeah. And then we need that D because, no sun.
Right. Wintertime.
Wintertime.
Yeah.
So how's your journey with Magic Mind going?
Actually, it's really great. So I have been under a lot of stress.
Yeah. Just a little. Just a little.
Yeah, no, I keep saying God, What in the world makes you think I'm your strongest warrior? But here we are. I was so delighted to open up my Magic Mind package. They sent us a little bit of it, and it was just, I go back and forth between green tea and coffee. Right now I'm on my green tea kick. And with the caffeine in green tea plus the Magic Mind, it's like an extender.
Yeah, it really
like an
is.
extension cord for your caffeine and focus and alertness. I am juggling so many things. Like, I just sold my house. We are looking for a new one. We just moved across state lines. So many things it's kind of a lot to keep up with. And my mental focus and also my ability to get everything done and still have like a healthy night's sleep has been a challenge. And so with Magic Mind, the thing that I really appreciate is that I don't have to consume as much caffeine as I normally would.
Right.
Which in turn means that my sleep is not as effed up as it would be with that much caffeine in my system. And so I am just grateful to have Magic Mind for the focus, for the alertness, and for those priceless good night sleeps.
Yeah. So tell everybody where you're recording from right now.
Oh, well, right now I'm in the back seat of Car Studios.
Because you're living where?
I'm living in a cabin in the woods in North Carolina while we search for a home to live.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound crazy, but even though I'm afraid of bees, I'm planning to be a beekeeper and make my own honey and hair products and skincare and lip products someday. And then
you are under a lot of stress.
Oh yeah. No, it is. None of this makes any sense, which is why focus and clarity aids are so important.
Yeah. And I wanted to tell the Fruities that we still have a limited offer that they can use.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it gets you up to 48% off your first subscription of Magic Mind or 20% off one-time purchase with the code ColorKillers20 at checkout. Just go to magicmind.com/monstersamongus and use code ColorKillers20. Monsters Among Us.
Monsters Among Us.
That game.
I know, the Among Us game that all of our children and grandchildren are playing and can't seem to get enough of. It doesn't make any sense to me, but you know what that...
But whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So should we dive into some listener letters?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Listener letters.
Well, hello, angels. Thank you for the bag. So we got a message from one of our Fruities, and we pronounced her name wrong, and now we're not sure how to pronounce it. But so her name is spelled Miya. She's from Chicago, and we think that we pronounced it Maya, and it's actually pronounced Maya. But we're not really sure. She sent us an email, and the spelling makes me think that it's pronounced Maya. But like I said, we're not sure, and we're so sorry if we are sorry get it right.
For
the second time.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If this invites you to send us a third voicemail, I'm not going to lie.
Please do so.
We would actually really like that.
Actually, she didn't send a voicemail.
She didn't send a voicemail with the correction.
Email. Yeah.
Right. It was
email, it was written, so that's why we're...
not 100% sure.
Yeah, and we actually talked about this for a long time.
Yeah.
So, Fruity, however you pronounce your name, just know that we talked about this a lot.
and we are trying our best to get it right.
Yeah.
Because we love you and appreciate you so much. So
yes, we do.
If you don't mind, if we did get it wrong again,
just let us know.
We're going to try again to get it right.
We'll do it again.
Keep endlessly.
Keep trying every week.
Endlessly in love. So let's give Maya her hip hop air horns for getting at us and also for helping us do better, because we appreciate that so darn much.
Yeah, thank you. Now we also have a voicemail from Corey.
That's right. Here goes.
Hey, Wendy and Beth.
Hey.
Also, hi, Minnie. I know that y'all be listening to this as well. It's Corey with a K. How are y'all doing?
We love you, Corey.
I just wanted to say, for like the mailbag portion or whatever, I wanted to say that everyone that is not subscribed to the Patreon should definitely subscribe to the Patreon.
Aww.
These ladies do the most work I've ever seen in a podcast for building and fostering a community. And I think that should be appreciated a little bit more. They have video club. They have a whole bunch of stuff. So I definitely do think that they deserve your a little bit of financial support, if you know what I mean.
Aw, Corey.
Also,
I'm crying.
I have
I'm crying.
been enjoying the podcast since the beginning.
Wow.
I've loved seeing the way that it's grown, the way that the format has changed over time. It's been great. Yeah, that was all. Love y'all. Bye.
Well, thanks, Corey. We love you so much, Corey with a K.
Corey with a K. Oh my God. Oh my God. I that's probably the 10th or 20th time I've heard that voicemail. And it made
just listen to it on a loop when you want to feel better.
When it first came in, oh my God, just boohoo crying. Our community that like Fruitloops is almost 7 years old. Fruitloops is in second grade now. And it's been a lot of work, but also what's been remarkable is the people who've stuck with us from the beginning when we were really
bad,
worse than we are now. Yeah. And have helped us improve.
Yes.
With their input. And that's what a community is all about, right?
Yeah. We could not be where we are without you guys. So
absolutely not. So thank you, Corey. Oh my God.
Yeah, thank you.
Internet bezos to you. Oh my God. Oh, that was so wonderful.
Yeah, it was.
I forgot what I'm doing, but I also forgot about my stress. So
okay, cool.
What where are we? Who? Huh?
So Fruities, if you have any questions or comments, please send them to fruitloopspod@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 602-935-6294. We may feature it on a future episode like we did Corey's, but you know what? If you don't want us to, just let us know and we won't do it. But you can still send the voicemail.
Yeah. No, the input is always appreciated. It doesn't always have to be played.
Yeah, we don't have to play it. Just say, hey, this voicemail is for you. Please don't play it, and we won't.
So, hip hop air horns to Maya and Corey.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're going to take a quick break and then get into the story when we come back.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey, podcast listeners, I'm Paul Brandis introducing my podcast, Countdown to Dallas. It's a fascinating, in-depth look at the seemingly unconnected events that led to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It's based on my book of the same title. In that book and in this podcast, I go all the way back to 1939, when Lee Harvey Oswald was born into a troubled and dysfunctional family. I'll follow his transient and often violent teenage years and young adulthood, painting a fuller picture of the man who would later become Kennedy's killer. I also take a look at events unfolding in that era, like Cuba and Vietnam, and I'll unpack the conspiracy theories too, not one of which has ever been conclusively proven. Subscribe to Countdown to Dallas at evergreenpodcasts.com or your favorite listening app, October 31st.
So we're back. Remind us, who is our subject today, Beth?
Our subject today is Heather Mack. a teenager who, with her boyfriend, murdered her white mother while on vacation in Bali, Indonesia. And I should also say that, this is not a serial killer, but it's a really interesting story.
It is. It got a lot of notoriety.
Yeah.
I think because of the details and the tragic mulatto trope, which I'll get into in a culture corner later.
Cool.
So now let's get into the love and light section where we just convey rest and power to the victims whose lives were cut short, and love and light to their loved ones and communities left in the wake of this horrible crime.
Yeah.
Rest in power to Miss Sheila Vaughn Weiss Mack, who was 62 years old and the mother of our subject today.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into the setting. Take us there, Beth.
Well, the setting is Oak Park, Illinois, a suburb outside of Chicago, which was originally the land of the Potawatomi, Sac, and Fox tribes.
So this is the setting that our subject
grew up in,
but not where the crimes took place necessarily.
No.
In 1835, Joseph and Betty Kettlestrings came from Yorkshire, England.
Yorkshire.
Were we there? Did we go there? Nah,
No.
Probably not. We were just in London. Anyway, England's it's just a small little island. I get it's all the same. Anyway, and built a small frame house between the small growing town of Chicago and the Des Plaines River. They later sold off parcels of their large land holdings, and Oak Park became the official name of the area.
The Chicago Fire of 1871 created a boom in suburban development as Chicago residents left the city to build in the suburbs. The population of Oak Park was about 500 the year of the fire, and then 20 years later, it was close to 5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think of Chicago as not being the Chicago of today. Obviously, now it's this really big booming city. But to imagine it as a teeny tiny town is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
The period between 1892 and 1950 saw the construction of almost all of the housing stock in Oak Park and most of the village's current buildings. So the area is landlocked and there are many old houses.
Yeah.
Oak Park continued to grow as the vacant land was built on with homes, churches, businesses, and schools.
During the 1920s, large Chicago stores such as Marshall Field's and The Fair opened branches in Oak Park. By 1930, the village had a population of 64,000, which is larger than the current population today by about 12,000.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to hear something else interesting?
Yeah, I do.
Fact alert. So, similar to the Harlem Renaissance, it wasn't the only Renaissance occurring in the United States. And this happens. And I'm wondering how this current time period, this political time period that we're in, how it might garner a new Renaissance.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes, because of the anticipated oppression.
Because of the bullshit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Cross your fingers.
Yes. But I'm going to create so much. But at the time, Chicago experienced a cultural flowering on the South Side during the 1930s and 1950s, with significant contributions to literature, music, and art. So it wasn't just New York. It was other places like Chicago
Other
as well,
places
in
as
the
well.
US.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So some notable people who lived in Oak Park are white people who we've all heard about, like Frank Lloyd Wright and Ernest Hemingway, but also some black people you may not have heard about, such as author Harriet G. Robinette and NASA astronaut Robert Satcher Jr.
Ooh, I love that. Another was a prominent and successful research chemist and entrepreneur named Percy LaVaughn Julian. LaVaughn, that's Michelle Obama's middle name. Michelle LaVaughn.
Is it really?
Oh, yes.
Huh.
Michelle LaVaughn Johnson. And then she changed it to Obama. Anyway, Percy LaVaughn Julian, and I wonder if that, because her parents were South Side Chicagoans through and through, if anybody read her documentary or her biography. But anyway, Percy Julian held multiple patents. And in 1950, he was voted Chicagoan of the Year in a poll by the Chicago Sun-Times.
In 1950, a black man. Yeah.
That is
very
remarkable.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that same year, Julian bought a home in Oak Park and was planning on moving in with his family.
But on Thanksgiving Day, before the family even had a chance to move in, The house was firebombed.
No.
Luckily, nobody was hurt and the majority of the house was able to be saved. But 6 months later, after the family had moved in, someone tossed a stick of dynamite at the house from a passing car.
Oh. Well, and this is shocking, maybe to somebody who's never heard Fruitloops before, but white violence is, it's wow. And this is probably
at
what that is at this time in the United States. So not an excuse, but an explanation.
Not an excuse at all.
We're not excusing this behavior by any stretch of the imagination. So again, no one was injured, which was good, and the house was not badly damaged, but the family was left traumatized because the police did nothing, of course. And Julian had to hire guards to protect his home and sometimes guarded his home at night, often stationed under a tree with a shotgun, sometimes joined by his young son. And by the way, the stress, Black people have higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, than other populations. And it's
because of things like this.
Cause it.
So the bombings of the Julian family's home were shocking to many of Oak Park residents. Oak Park fancied itself an enlightened community. But it wasn't until the 1960s that Oak Park got its third Black family, and the citizens of Oak Park held civil rights marches to protest unfair housing practices.
Okay, exercising American
We're getting
rights.
somewhere,
Woo! And so, in 1968, the community passed a fair housing ordinance which prohibited discrimination in home sales, rentals, and financing. And the ordinance also banned for sale signs to discourage white flight. And I will say, we just had this stupid election. And it's these community ordinances, these community efforts that really have the most impact on all of us. And so, listen, if y'all want the federal government, you can have it. I'm sick of fighting for it, and I'm tired. I'm just going to focus on the community stuff, just like they did in the 1960s.
Okay. In 1973, the village trustees created a policy statement, quote, maintaining diversity in Oak Park, unquote, which stated that, quote, diversity is Oak Park's strength, unquote. And today, the largest racial groups in Oak Park are white at 60%, followed by Black at 19% and Latinx at 9%. So it's,
it's
decent mix there.
It's all right. Yeah, but these numbers are important. I mean, like for me, I'm looking for a community that I can raise my family in and feel comfortable going to the grocery store and going to the gas station.
It's not 90% white.
Yeah,
it's,
and that's, which can be a dangerous, tricky situation if it is too much of one thing, I think.
Yeah, which I was actually surprised at the demographics because when I think of Oak Park, I think of like just fancy pants.
Yeah, fancy
and
pants.
I thought it would be
Have
like.
you ever been there?
I haven't, but I've seen pictures, and I know that Frank Lloyd Wright had a studio there,
right?
So I always think it's like, and the houses are like giant and old and beautiful,
super
and
hoity-toity.
Yeah, hoity-toity. That's a good word. So, I thought it would be like 90%, 95% white. But so I was pleased to see these numbers.
Yeah, same. Because it could be a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
But it's laying the context for our subject today, Lois Heather Mack.
Yeah.
Let's get into her early life. So Lois Heather Mack was born in 1995 to James L. Mack and Sheila Ann Von Weiss. James was a successful Black jazz musician born in 1929 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and his family moved to Chicago when he was 5. That's pretty common. A lot of Black people in Chicago are from the South. Yes, ma'am. And his pioneering work in music helped create breakthroughs for Black musicians in Chicago during the Civil Rights era, and worked on more than 60 albums for different artists. He was like a Grammy.
Was a big deal.
Yeah, Grammy award-winning, etc.
Artists, yeah. His original compositions and orchestral and horn arrangements were used by soul and jazz greats like Ramsey Lewis, Tyrone Davis, and Nancy Wilson. He also served for more than 30 years as chairman of the music department at Harold Washington College.
Sheila was white and has been described as a socialite and a patron of the arts. And I gotta say, when I learned about Sheila, she reminded me of like a Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
A woman from the Chicago area, well-educated, like high stock, I guess you could say, for a human being. Like, people would want to marry a woman like this, a white woman like this. But anyway, so that sounds kind of dismissive.
So calling her a socialite and a patron of the arts, like
that's all she was, is
yes, kind of dismissive.
Yes, I do agree. For women, that is reductive. But that's, as we will tell you, as I'm going to tell you shortly, that's not all she was.
Right.
She was a smart lady who earned a political science degree at Simmons College in Boston, and she worked for Ted Kennedy.
Yep.
Remember, they called him the Lion of the Senate. And she earned an MBA from Washington University in St. Louis, which is a smarty pants school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sheila loved books and worked for a time at the publishing company Doubleday. After she and James married, she continued to patronize the arts. Like her husband, she also loved music and sometimes held concerts in their backyard.
What a life.
Yeah, sounds pretty amazing.
To just be surrounded by art and music and just like, hey, want to have a concert in my backyard? What? Put it on the vision board. So, according to neighbors, she was always sweet and helpful. When she was 43 and James was 66, whoa, the age difference.
Yeah, 22-year difference.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
She gave birth to the couple's only daughter, who they called Heather. The family lived in Oak Park, an affluent suburb of Chicago, in a $1.5 million Renaissance style mansion, a style that characterized American architecture from 1876 to 1917. Wow.
So I'm assuming this is an old house, because we talked about how the stock in this area, it's all old houses. So
yeah. Oh my, $1.5 million is...
yeah.
Wow.
It's a nice house.
Yeah, I bet it was. Woo!
According to a friend, Sheila wanted Heather to have the best of everything, and she took her daughter to museums, theaters, symphony halls, and opera houses in order to, quote, acquire Sheila's deep, abiding appreciation of the arts, unquote.
Well, that sounds nice.
Well, it does, yeah, but I was also one of those kids. My parents did that too, and kids don't appreciate that.
They don't. And more on that later.
Kids are assholes.
There's a lot that Sheila does that, from the outside looking in, I mean,
seems nice.
It seems nice. Yeah, but then, we weren't there. So Sheila started having trouble with Heather when she was just still a little girl. She told a friend that she had difficulty dealing with Heather's boundless energy and contrarian personality. But Heather was very close to her father. She was what you might call a daddy's girl.
Sadly, in 2006, James, who was 76 and suffering from stage 4 colon cancer, died of a pulmonary embolism during a family vacation in Athens, Greece. And Heather was only 10 years old at the time.
Although Heather was understandably traumatized, Sheila continued on with the planned vacation, cruising off on Santorini Island with her daughter. According to later statements by Heather, this planted a seed of anger towards her mother. She said, quote, I wanted to go home, and Mom drank wine by the sea and complained to her friends that my dad had died, unquote. I had a lot of thoughts about how this all played out.
Yeah, so I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know what Sheila's thoughts were, but I wonder if she was just grieving and, just was trying to figure out how to deal with this. And
in her
own way, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have a little 10-year-old daughter, and you have to raise her by yourself, not to mention you are a white woman, and you now have to raise this young Black girl on your own, which she was raised in she was born in 1995, so this is 2005. This is like
it's 2006.
2006, yeah. So the time for somebody who didn't anticipate having that be their reality might also be challenging, and it wasn't easy for either of them.
But it does not sound good.
Yeah,
when you hear this, it doesn't sound good, but I don't know what she was thinking.
Yeah.
So friends said that after James died, Sheila struggled as a single mom. She complained that her daughter had become a handful And it only got worse as Heather became a teenager. According to a neighbor, quote, since her dad died, it was ongoing. Your typical teenage stuff would blow up into major, major stuff, unquote.
I don't have teenagers yet, but this scares me.
Yeah, teenagers are the worst.
Yeah, they're like kids still, but in almost adult bodies.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I how did you do it, Beth? Can you do it for me? I don't want to do it. So in April of 2008, police were called to the home when the then 13-year-old Heather allegedly locked her mother in a room. In May 2010, Sheila told police that when she and her daughter were arguing about her homework, Heather threatened to hurt her. In February of 2011, Heather was accused of pushing her mother, causing her to fall and break her arm. But all of this, nobody's like, Heather's also going through something too, because her dad died.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
There were multiple missing persons reports and accusations of Heather punching, hitting, and even biting her mother. Other reports were about the theft of cash or jewelry or credit card fraud by Heather. Others involved issues like breaking things and running away. There were also multiple 911 hang-up calls.
Heather was arrested on 5 different occasions, was placed on 1 year of court supervision for battering her mother, and on at least 3 occasions, she was ordered hospitalized for psychiatric evaluation and treatment. Now, I don't know if things would have gone this far without her being incarcerated if she wasn't rich and didn't have a white mama.
Yeah, you're right.
This December, Christmas gets creepy with the Empty Coffin Podcast. This is host Greg Hansberry, and we are unwrapping the dark side of the holidays. This month, we revisit the haunting tragedy of a rock legend's final performance.
The band was on. They had just started their opening song. The killer walks across the stage, gun drawn.
We revive the forgotten tradition of telling ghost stories for Christmas.
There's this miserable, sour old man who spends all the time on his own in the graveyard, and the goblins take him.
And we sink our teeth into Nosferatu lore.
This story cropped up that the actor who played Nosferatu was so convincing that he was an actual vampire.
The Empty Coffin Podcast is part of the Evergreen Network. Subscribe on your favorite app and have yourself a scary little Christmas.
Hi, I'm Matt Harris. Seton Tucker and I host the podcast Impact of Influence, which for 2 years covered in depth Alec Murdaugh, who was eventually convicted in 2023 of murdering his wife Maggie and son Paul. That story continues to evolve, and we will cover that. Plus, we will tell you stories of other true crime events that have happened in the South. Please join us on Impact of Influence. And give us a follow on the Impact of Influence Facebook page.
Police were called to the home a total of 86 times, and all were related to incidents between the mother and daughter. But often, Sheila would not allow police to take Heather into their custody, which also, that's a white thing.
Yeah. You could tell the police what to do.
What?
Wait, what? Is this America?
So she told the police that she believed Heather was suffering from mental health issues. But according to a close friend, Sheila overindulged her daughter.
Interesting. So he said, quote, at least 4 of 5 of us would say to kick her out. She was hanging out with a bad crowd, but Sheila always took her back. Heather could be charming and self-effacingly sweet 1 minute, and then a vicious little monster the next, unquote.
That just kind of describes a teenager.
A teenager, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did any of these friends have teenagers of their
kids,
own?
Yeah. Heather attended Oak Park River Forest High School, where a boy named Tommy Shaeffer also went to school. Heather dropped out of high school 2 years early and lived in 2 different facilities in the county's juvenile court system for minors who suffered from mental health problems.
At some point, Heather and Tommy began dating. They were somewhere around 2 years apart in age. Tommy was a hip-hop artist who went by the stage name Tommy X. On his website, he said that he had dropped out of college to focus on his music. And I think that's a pretty he's focused.
Yeah.
A young man who's focused. Come on. That's a win.
But Sheila didn't think much of her daughter's boyfriend and did not approve of the relationship. And I'm sure he just was not cultured enough for her tastes, probably.
Cultured enough. And I heard some sources say that Sheila would say really vile, racist things about him.
Yeah.
So there's that.
There's that. Yeah. And in an attempt to break up the couple, Sheila sold the family home and moved with Heather into a condo in the Gold Coast neighborhood of Chicago. But that didn't work.
So now let's get into the timeline. So in 2014, Sheila traded in some travel points to book a vacation to Bali, an island province in Indonesia. The family had often traveled, and Sheila kept it up after James died, always taking her daughter with her. Her friends didn't think it was a good idea to go with Mac to Bali and tried to talk her out of going.
This was because prior to the trip, mother and daughter had been fighting. Mac was 18, so no longer a minor. She'd dropped out of school, was dating Shaeffer, who Sheila disliked, and had stolen a credit card from Sheila to pay for Shaeffer and herself to stay at a hotel.
Sheila was seeking to obtain a power of attorney over her daughter, giving her legal control over the girl's medical decisions. However, according to Mac, this was because Mac believed she was pregnant, and Sheila wanted her to have an abortion.
In later legal proceedings, it was alleged that Mac had had 2 abortions under her mother's control. At the time Sheila booked their trip to Bali, Mac was still waiting for blood work to find out if she really was pregnant. And if she was, her mother wanted her to have a 3rd abortion.
Despite these issues, Sheila was determined to go on the trip with her daughter, viewing the trip as a chance for a, quote, new beginning for their relationship, unquote. And on August 2nd, 2014, they left for their trip to Indonesia. As Mac and Sheila were on their way out of the country, Mac and Shaeffer were texting back and forth.
Now you'd think, well, of course, she's texting her boyfriend and that's normal.
Yeah, no big deal.
But this was anything but normal, because what they were texting about was not normal at all, but an apparent plot to kill Sheila for her $1.5 million estate.
Now, 1.5 is like a lot of money.
It's not enough to kill somebody for.
No, not enough.
No.
I mean,
to kill somebody, it's got to be at least 3.
It's got to be a lot more because you got to split it with people. And also,
no, if you do it yourself, then 3 should do it. But if you got to split it.
But yeah, and also to a young person who doesn't have a job,
no idea.
Who's never earned like a paycheck or money of their own, that's like buku dollars, ballin', and which makes this plan to us seem silly,
right?
But to a young person, might
$1.5 million is like $1 trillion, you know?
Yeah,
them.
might as well be. I know it would have been for me at that age if I had never had a job before. But in the messages, Mac referred to her mother as the witch, and the couple referred to themselves as Bonnie and Clyde. The couple also had pulled Shaeffer's cousin, Robert Ryan Bibbs, into the plot. He was acting as a consultant for the murder in exchange for $50,000.
He's a murder consultant.
A murder Man, entrepreneurship is out of control. What are these kids doing? Wow.
On July 25th, Shaeffer had texted Bibbs, quote, "She's really trying to knock her mom off," unquote. About 90 minutes later, Shaeffer allegedly texted Bibbs that we got to talk about Bucko Bucks. It's Bukko. And I think he meant Buku.
Buku, yeah. I think he did too. And
Bucko Bucks.
Bucko Bucks. Sounds like the gas station that I'm going to open up on my new life here in a different state. Bucko Bucks.
Yeah, and the logo's got a donkey on it kicking.
With a $sign maybe on his hoof or head.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We got it.
Graphic designer or AI. Get it done. So in subsequent text messages exchanged between Bibbs and Shaeffer, Bibbs advised the couple about how to kill Mac's mother. He advised them not to use a gun and to wait until Sheila was asleep.
Shaeffer texted Mac, quote, "I can't wait to be rich. I seriously can't wait. I'm so geeked.
Oh.
I'm like thinking of lavish lifestyles, unquote.
Oh.
Mac responded, quote, LMAO, laughing my ass off. I'm in the airport lounge now. I love you. I'm about to board, unquote.
Oh, they're, wow. They are so into this crime that they are documenting their communications through text message. We are doing this. Ready, break.
Go.
So when Sheila and Mac arrived in Indonesia, they checked into a hotel in Seminyak, a beach resort area at the southern end of Bali. Mac texted Shaeffer that the trip was going as planned. Shaeffer texted back that he had faith in her, but a lot was not in her control.
In a series of text messages, Mac assured him that she knew her mother and what makes her tick, texting, quote, I'm sneaky, I'm smart, and I watch. Trust Bonnie, unquote.
Yeah, again, young people stuff. This is not a solid plan to carry anything out of any serious import. Anyway, in an email to a friend on August 5th, Sheila expressed concern for her personal safety while she was on the trip with Mac, writing, quote, I am afraid of her and fear that I should not have come here at all, hoping that I have not made a big mistake here in Bali for 9 more days, which it seems weird to email this to a friend or not write it in a journal or not make a phone call or...
So when you're in another country, a lot of times you don't call people because,
roaming charges.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially at this time.
Right. Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
I spent $80 on SIM cards when we went to England because my internet stopped working and I panicked. And so, email would have been better. Anyway.
On August 9th, mother and daughter moved to the St. Regis Bali, a luxury resort in Nusa Dua, another beach resort town in Bali. The next day, Mac used one of Sheila's credit cards to book a flight for Shaeffer from Chicago O'Hare to Bali, costing over $12,000.
Holy shit. Yeah. But, my understanding was they were very wealthy and that they had it.
Yeah, and I think she got first class.
First class. Also, life insurance from her recent husband's, or not recent, but, they had the money.
They had money, yeah.
To me, this is...
ridiculous.
This is...
Yeah. Well, this was not Sheila's plan at all. So...
okay.
But she did have the room on the credit card, apparently.
Okay, I got it. So, Shaeffer arrived at the hotel in the middle of the night on August 12th. Early that same morning, Sheila woke up to find that Heather was not in her room. She went to the front desk, and it was at that time that she learned from hotel staff that Shaeffer was at the hotel in a room billed to her account.
I can't even imagine. I would be enraged.
I know. I did this nice thing
so mad.
for me and my daughter.
Yeah, I wanted to spend this time with my daughter. I mean, my daughter had some really awful boyfriends when she was young.
Yeah.
And I remember we went somewhere. I took my daughter somewhere and she was texting back and forth with one of her awful boyfriends.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he was there. I was so mad.
Oh my God.
I was so mad.
Do you know that I would never, and this is where she has a white mom. A black mom would never, ever let something like this happen. Communicating with somebody of an opposite sex? No. Traveling with somebody of an opposite sex? Absolutely not. Flying that opposite sex person
at
to a vacation that I'm on with you? Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So this is unfathomable in my black ass brain. So
yeah.
But wow.
So both Mac and Shaeffer were called to the lobby. A hotel employee overheard Sheila tell Mac that she and Shaeffer would face prosecution in Chicago for credit card fraud, and CCTV footage caught Sheila and Shaeffer arguing.
Shaeffer later said that Mac told him that if her mother returned to the U.S., she would notify the police that her credit card had been used without authorization and that she wouldn't pin it on Mac. She'd pin it on Shaeffer.
He also said, quote, "With all this pressure, I started to look for reasons to justify killing Sheila. And I thought racism was a good enough reason at the time. I started to ask myself, how come white people who are evil enjoy such lavish lifestyles, yet Black people continue to suffer? I thought about slavery, about how white people have always treated Black people in America, and how racist Sheila was. She called me the N-word all the time," unquote.
Yeah. And to people who think that the N-word and racism it's not that big of a deal.
No, it is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And especially to have your mother call a Black person the N-word when you're Black.
When you are Black. Like, what does she think of me? Like, does she even really love me or see me as a human?
Right.
Because I'm part N-word too. And I wonder if she called her husband that, if that came up in their communications with each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I have been privy to conversations among white people where they have said, and this is awful, I don't agree, but they're like, oh, there's Black people and then there's N-words.
Chris Rock said that in a famous
did
stand-up.
he?
Uh-huh.
Did he?
Yeah.
So I don't agree with that.
Well,
I don't like
it's
it.
an interesting thought.
But I think, so this is something I think that maybe Sheila thought, like, you know, her daughter was a Black girl, but this boy was an N-word. But it doesn't matter what she thought.
Right.
If she's calling a Black person the N-word and her daughter's Black, it's awful.
Right. And I also want to add that I believe the use of the word not by a rapper in a rap song is violent. It's a form of violence and it's gross. And I think that if this white woman had a Black partner and a Black husband and thus Black children, that she should have taken the time to learn that.
Yeah, you would think so.
And practice it.
Yeah.
But she didn't, and I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
Yeah. But Sheila and Mac returned to their room, and Shaeffer returned to his room. Mac and Shaeffer exchanged text messages reflecting that they were waiting for Sheila to fall back to sleep and that the plan was to strike her in the head, suffocate her, or otherwise knock her out.
Shaeffer texted, quote, "Can't we suffocate her together? Put your hand over her mouth," unquote. Mac responded, quote, "Just knock her out," unquote. Shaeffer also sent Mac a photo of a metal fruit bowl handle from the hotel room.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're taking photos of potential murder weapons.
Weapons,
got it. Yeah. Okay, that's going to go great in trial later. So during these exchanges, Shaeffer was also in touch with his cousin, Ryan Bibbs, who provided advice to Shaeffer via text message on alternative ways to kill Sheila, such as drowning her, and how to conceal the murder, such as by avoiding cameras.
Sometime later, Shaeffer left his room with something hidden under his shirt, and it was probably the metal fruit bowl handle, because shortly afterwards, Sheila was beaten to death in her hotel room with that metal fruit bowl handle.
The couple then hired a taxi and placed a suitcase inside the trunk. Here, there are differing accounts. In some accounts, it is said that blood was noticed on the suitcase and pointed out to the couple, who then fled.
In other accounts, they told the taxi driver that they were going to check out of the hotel and would return, but they never came back. Hotel security video showed the couple fleeing the hotel through a back door after leaving the suitcase in the trunk of the taxi.
They left it there?
They left it there, yeah.
Okay.
Which makes me think that they probably did get kind of caught, and so then they just ran, because I think they were probably planning on taking it with them.
Mm-hmm. In any case, blood was seen on the suitcase, and hotel security guards suggested to the cab driver that he take the luggage to the police station, which he did. When officers opened the suitcase, they discovered a body inside, wrapped in a white bed sheet stained with blood.
And it was Sheila.
It was Sheila.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So let's get into the investigation and the arrest. Hit it, Beth.
Sheila's body was autopsied at a hotel in Denpasar, Bali. The results of the autopsy found that Sheila had died of asphyxiation from a broken nose. But she had also suffered from a broken neck, and cuts on both forearms and a broken left-hand fingernail indicated that Sheila had fought her attacker before she died.
Mack and Shaeffer were arrested the next day after they were found at a hotel about 6 miles away from St. Regis. Initially, the couple pretended to not know that Sheila was dead, but when confronted with the CCTV footage, Mack acknowledged that her mother had died, but refused to disclose how. Then the couple claimed that Sheila had been killed by robbers.
Yeah, their story changed a lot, and it continued to change. So we're not going to cover all of them, but here we go.
There's not enough time. Yeah.
They told police that 3 masked men entered their room, and Sheila demanded that they leave or she would call the police. The robbers then attacked her, and Mack and Shaeffer managed to escape. But their claims contradicted witness statements from the taxi driver and hotel workers and the CCTV footage. So, yeah, it was bullshit.
Yeah. We seen it, you?
Obvious bullshit, yeah.
So, after the initial questioning, Mack and Shaeffer refused to speak to investigators without an attorney present. Reportedly, police also conducted psychiatric tests on the couple to try to determine a motive. And that's a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All this, they're not in America. So you can't just be like, oh, I need an attorney.
You got to remember they're in Indonesia. Yeah. So not a good idea to go to a different country to
How dare you, sir?
Conduct
I'm an
a murder.
American citizen. Nobody gives a fuck.
So Mack informed the police that she was pregnant, and she was taken to a doctor who verified her claim. She was 2 months pregnant.
My name is Bill Huffman, and I am a former Cleveland news producer, and I am now the host of the podcast, Who Killed? I began the show focusing on the unsolved murder of Amy Mihaljevic, and now each week I explore a different case with a focus on some of the victims who don't get the attention they deserve. I have a deep catalog of over 225 episodes, so there is a guarantee there will be something for you. Who Killed is an evergreen podcast, killer podcasts, and slow burn media production. Subscribe today wherever you get your favorite shows.
So now let's get into the trial. So according to Indonesia's criminal code, if they were found guilty of premeditated murder, Mack and Shaeffer could face a sentence of death by firing squad.
Yeah.
Seems like this is something their murder consultant should have vetted ahead of time. Would have been useful information a couple of days ago.
Would have been good to know. Yeah. During their separate criminal trials, Mack and Shaeffer testified that Sheila became angry upon learning of her daughter's pregnancy. However, later on, emails were uncovered that showed that Sheila already knew about the pregnancy, so that wasn't it.
They testified that Sheila choked Shaeffer, and Shaeffer responded by beating Sheila with the metal fruit bowl handle. Mack claimed she was hiding in a bathroom when the murder happened.
In 2015, Mack and Shaeffer were convicted of the murder of Sheila von Wiesmack. Shaeffer was given an 18-year prison sentence, and Mack was sentenced to 10 years.
Interesting. Later on, audio recording of Mack speaking to a relative of Shaeffer's was uncovered. During that call, she claimed that after Shaeffer hit Sheila, she had suffocated her mother, saying that once he hit her, she knew he would be in big trouble. So she suffocated Sheila to keep her from talking.
So lots of different stories, have no idea what actually happened.
Yeah,
they killed her, though.
It's super unclear to me, too. But did you see the YouTube video of her saying, what'd she say? I did kill my mother, but she deserved it. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay.
Oh my God. So all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, because she took it back like a little while later. So her story continues to change is my impression.
Yeah.
But let's get into where are they now?
Okay.
Tell us, Beth.
Mack and Shaeffer's daughter, Stella, was born in prison in 2015. According to Indonesian law, imprisoned mothers can raise a child behind bars up until the child turns 2 years old. So while serving her time in Karobokan prison in Denpasar, Mack was allowed to keep her daughter for 2 years, and then Stella was given to a foster family in Bali to raise until Mack was released from prison.
So Mack was released 3 years early for good behavior, and she planned to go back to Chicago to raise her daughter Stella. However, when she and Stella arrived back in Chicago in November 2021, Mack was taken into custody at O'Hare Airport to face U.S. federal charges for conspiring to murder her mother. Oh, I'm getting in trouble again?
Yeah.
But I already got in trouble. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so they can't charge her with murder because the murder didn't take place in the U.S., but they can charge her with
planning in
conspiring.
the U.S.
Yeah, because they did plan it in the U.S. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yep.
Mamma mia, you in trouble.
So little Stella was sent to live with Mack's attorney in a short-term guardianship. In June of 2023, Mack pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to kill a U.S. national. And on January 17th, 2024, Mack, who was now 28 years old, was sentenced to 26 years in prison. She did not get credit for the 7 years she had already served in Indonesia.
I feel like a lot of the decisions she's making is because of youth and lack of wisdom.
Yeah.
Like even up until this point, everything we've talked about, and I would have not come back to the United States. Girl.
Well, they deported her.
Oh,
so
they did?
She had no choice.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. I thought she could have just hung out in Indonesia for the rest of her life. Well, dang it. So before she was sentenced, Mack apologized for killing her mother, saying there was no excuse for trying to harm her, while her defense attorneys had argued that Mack suffered from emotional and physical abuse by her mother for years before her murder. Mack said, quote, "It does not matter what my relationship was with my mother," unquote.
Mack said in part that becoming a mother herself helped her understand her own mother. After she was sentenced, her uncle said, quote, "That's the first time I've ever heard Heather apologize, and I did appreciate that," unquote.
Oh, wow. At Mack's sentencing hearing, Lisa Hellman, Stella's court-appointed legal guardian, described the 8-year-old as empathetic, kind, and a brave young girl. Hellman said Stella doesn't want to speak to her mother after a therapist shared the truth about what Mack and Shaeffer did to her grandmother.
That would be scary.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell, Stella is currently living with the family of a maternal cousin. Shaeffer's mother tried to get custody but was denied. Shaeffer is still serving his 18-year sentence in a prison in Indonesia. Like Mack, Shaeffer has also been charged by the FBI with conspiracy to kill and obstruction of justice and will be arrested the moment he returns home.
In 2019, Shaeffer described Mack as a black hole who would probably kill again, released into the community. Shaeffer says he accepts full responsibility for his actions and believes he belongs in prison. That's sad. Because remember, he wanted to be an artist rapper before?
Yeah.
But he says that he was emotionally tricked by Mack to kill her mother.
Quote, "We had lots of sex, drinking and partying. She was buying me new clothes and shoes and taking me to restaurants. She was talking about killing her mother. Then she started convincing me how rich she would be if her mother died and telling me that if she was rich, I'd be rich too. So because of her constantly mentioning it, I gave up trying to stop her," unquote.
Oh, man. So Robert Ryan Bibbs confessed to his role in planning out the murder.
Yeah, the murder consultant. Yeah.
The murder consultant. In 2016, he pleaded guilty to a murder conspiracy charge, stating in a plea agreement that he was aware of the couple's plot to carry out the murder and that he counseled Shaeffer on how to get away with it. He received a 9-year prison sentence for his role in the plot. Wow.
Worst murder consultant ever.
I was going to say, but his resume after that 9 years, though, is his LinkedIn queued up?
Friends say they wish Sheila had heeded their pleas not to go to Bali with her daughter and that in the end, Her kind heart may have been her demise. One friend stated, quote, "We're shocked at what happened, but nobody's surprised," unquote.
Yeah. So let's get into our hot takeaways. Beth, what do you think about this case?
Well, I wondered, from the beginning of the story, if Heather has ADHD. Her mom complained about her boundless energy and contrarian personality.
Mm-hmm.
Girls are not diagnosed as often as boys are with ADHD.
Especially Black girls.
Yeah.
Especially Black girls.
It's due to racism and gender bias.
Mm-hmm.
And people with ADHD can sometimes be contrarian because of the way their brains process information and their need for mental stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandson has this issue, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to deal with. But, it's 2024. And we know a lot more about ADHD and behavior and how to deal with it.
Right.
Back when Heather was a little girl, they didn't know as much.
Right. No, and her parents are completely different generation, of parents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
I get the feeling that maybe her dad just was laid back and let her do whatever, and the mom was more controlling and couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
So children with ADHD often think that they're just bad because people have difficulty dealing with their energy and contrariness.
Right.
And so are often talked to harshly and get punished a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And this gets into the kid's psyche, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Some people with ADHD are also diagnosed incorrectly with things like oppositional defiant disorder and conduct disorder. So people think they're just bad seeds, and they're not.
Right.
They just have a lot going on, and other people can't deal with it.
Right. And when they're young, they can't articulate, I'm not trying to be bad. There's just a lot going on in here. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just my grandson will just be talking, or jumping. And, he's not trying to be bad. He just has all this energy, and you have to kind of focus it, get him to go jump on the trampoline or something, there's lots of different ways you can deal with it, but a lot of people don't know. And so they just punish them, and the kids think they're bad. And so I wonder if that's what happened with Heather Mack.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know the dynamics between mom and daughter exactly.
Well, but I Sheila
imagine
isn't here to tell us.
Yeah, she's not.
Yeah.
And Heather, she's told so many lies. I don't know what's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine that Sheila just didn't know how to deal with Heather, and nothing that she tried worked.
Yeah.
And Heather probably had a lot of anger issues due to this.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that Sheila calling Tommy the N-word had to have been very harmful to both Tommy and Heather.
Right. To both kids.
Your daughter is Black. What the fuck?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this entire case, top to bottom, is just really sad.
Yeah.
When it didn't have to be. Right? Grammy award-winning dad, beautiful daughter, beautiful wife, beautiful home in Oak Park. They should have been living the dream until the end of time.
Yeah.
And
sad.
It didn't work out that way. Yeah. It could have been the fairy tale I certainly would have loved to see on TV or happen in my own life. We've talked about white mama syndrome, and we've talked about the trope of the tragic mulatto that is found in fiction. And I pulled up a definition of it because it's been a while since we've talked about it. The tragic mulatto is a stereotypical fictional character that is in American literature during the 19th and 20th centuries. And the tragic mulatto is a mixed-race person, usually a woman, who's assumed to be depressed, even suicidal, because they fail to completely fit into the white world or the Black world. As such, the tragic mulatto is depicted as the victim of the society that is divided by race, where there is no place for one who is neither completely Black or completely white. And while this story is not a fiction, I do think that art and life kind of, there's a Venn diagram.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I love a Venn diagram. And so
I do know
this
that.
made me... This made me consider the Venn diagram between fiction and real life when considering the life of a mixed race person.
Right.
Heather had a really tough relationship with her mother. And sometimes when you are in a mixed race family, connections between, even though we're blood, can be stunted.
Yeah.
Not that you don't love each other, but that you may not see or understand each other fully without further introspection and work. And Heather's mom sounds like she was the shit. But while she may have fell in love with a Black man, maybe she wasn't prepared for the challenges in the early 2000s that come with having a mixed race Black American girl daughter in America.
Yeah.
And, I understand that the young people who carried this crime out, their motive was money and maybe a little anger and racism too. But this is just speculation. But I wondered if in Heather's mind that her mother didn't see her or didn't understand her.
Yeah.
And, not to say that okay, this is going to sound really bad, but her mother didn't see her as a person. This is Heather speaking.
Right.
And so, Heather, why should I view you as a person? You're a thing. You're an obstacle in the way of my $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And you can easily go because you see me as nothing and I therefore see you as nothing other than an obstacle. So I had that thought, but I don't really know. I'm just a podcaster. And
we're just speculating. This is
completely
all speculation. Yeah.
And I don't know what happened in that Indonesian prison, but I didn't realize that she got deported. So I was like, why the hell did she come back to this godforsaken land? I also thought
once you murder somebody in a country, they don't want you there anymore. Yeah.
Gosh, dang it. I thought about how she has evolved. Her lies continue, but she is illuminated in that she's a mom now. And she said that she understood her mom a little bit more now that she has her own daughter. Only wish that would have happened sooner.
A lot earlier. Yeah.
Very, very sad. I also feel bad for Tommy.
Yeah.
Shaeffer, the boyfriend, who was just this aspiring artist. And when you are in the 2000s, this was the hip hop heyday, music video heyday, where everything was jet planes, beautiful women, good restaurants, nice clothes.
Gotta get that bag.
Yeah. And you have a girlfriend who gives you access to this right now?
Yeah, that would be pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see why the glitz and the glamour of comfort and money attracted him. Plus, Heather Mack is a beautiful light-skinned girl, so she was attractive, alluring to somebody who was aspiring to break out.
Right.
So I just feel bad that he got wrapped up in this because he seemed like he was a nice kid before this.
Before he murdered somebody.
Before, yes, exactly. And let's see. Oh, he got a lot more time than she did.
Yeah,
and
because
I think she was pregnant. She's a woman.
Well, that was part of it, but also he actually murdered Sheila, or that's what they told them, was that he murdered her.
Yeah.
And Heather was hiding in the bathroom.
Yeah, but I mean, Heather
we don't
has
know.
broke.
Yeah,
but we
don't know. But that's what they told them, so that's what they thought happened.
That's what they went with. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just another sad case. There's not top to bottom, no winners. And just rest in power to Miss Sheila von Weiss Mack. And just thinking about the people who miss Miss Sheila and the people who are taking care of little Stella right now. And Stella doesn't have her mother and father in her life on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people suffering as a result of this crime. And so let us know what you think. Get at us in the comments. Let's move on to how not to get murdered. If you love true crime and you don't want to die, here's a tip for you.
This segment is not intended to be victim blaming. We thought of this segment because I read somewhere that a lot of people listen to true crime because they want to know what they can do to be safer. This is not meant to blame the victims. It's just learning from other people's experiences.
Okay, y'all, we have no tips in the tip bag this week. There's a lot going on in the world, and we're all doing our best to not get murdered. Unfortunately, Beth and Wendy don't have any tips this week, and we would love to hear from you on how you stay not getting murdered murked in
How do you
these
not
streets.
get murdered?
How do you not get murdered? How did you not get murdered today?
Yeah, reach
ma'am,
out
sir?
and let us know.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Now it's shout out time where we shout out any content by or about people of color, LGBTQ folks, or anybody minoritized, or any true crime goodies. I know I had something, but girl, I'm in Car Studios and all my notes are in some other place. So
you are
go ahead,
also
take it away.
pretty much, you're not home.
No, it's quite odd.
Staying in a cabin. So
but I can't wait to hear what you got.
Okay, well, I got a couple of shows I'm watching right now that have diverse casts.
Okay,
and
wonderful.
One is Dune Prophecy on Max.
Is it worth it?
Oh, I like it.
Okay. I loved the other two Dunes.
So it's not the same.
Oh.
But one of the things that I love about it is about women.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I feel like it's getting a lot of bad press because people don't like that. You know how it is. Yeah. You know how they do.
I've been here. I understand.
You've lived here for a while.
I'm used to it. Yeah. Okay.
The other show is Silo, which I may have shouted out before, but season 2 is out on Amazon Prime. It's a sci-fi show about some people who live in a silo below the ground, and there's a mystery, and I won't ruin it for anybody, but it also has a diverse cast, and
great.
The main character is a woman, so there's that.
Okay,
and
love it.
And then I am waiting for next week. So we're recording this the week before Thanksgiving. Next week on December 3rd, Star Wars Skeleton Crew will drop, and I don't know if it'll be any good, but I'm going to be watching it.
I'm going to watch it too. That's so exciting. I love it when they drop any new Star Wars anything.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it.
I'm like a secret Star Wars fan. Like I don't know the characters. I just love it.
To. Yeah,
no, I just enjoy it so much.
Yeah, me too.
I know what I was going to shout out based on a true story. It's about, remember I shouted it out before. Yeah. Season 2 is back. Yeah, right. These people who are like, oh no, what are we going to do for money? We're having a baby. And then they meet a serial killer and they're like, can we start a podcast with you?
Yeah.
So it's season 2 and it's just fun and it's goofy and it's lighthearted. Yeah. So just to recap, that is Dune Prophecy on Max, followed by Silo Season 2 on Amazon Prime, and Star Wars, Amazon Prime, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which drops December 3rd, as well as based on a true story, where did I find that? I think it's on Hulu.
I think it might be on Hulu.
Peacock.
Yeah. Oh,
Peacock.
Peacock.
Yes, it's on Peacock. It's on Prime too, but you have to pay for it. So I don't know.
Okay, so watch it on Peacock.
Peacock, yeah, with ads. There you go, and it's free. All right, y'all. Well, Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media. The footnotes for each episode can be found on our website. Plus, check it out for the different ways that you can support the show. Also, join us on Patreon, where we have literally hundreds of hours of bonus content. You can also support us by supporting our sponsors or by giving us a 5-star review.
5 stars only, please.
Also, don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. Now, listen close. This is a weekly podcast, and new episodes drop every Thursday. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there. Ready?
Yep.
Let's move along before my battery dies.
Through. Yeah,
that's right. Please forgive me. Now I lost my microphone. What is this? Amateur hour? Oh my God. Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'm back. The period between 1892, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Just kidding. That's not true. That's not true. So
Wait
many
a minute.
rhymes.
That's not
Yeah,
true.
I ruined it again. Sorry. Cut.
Again.
Yeah. Okay.
So are you staying in a cabin there?
Yeah, we're in a cabin.
Oh, okay.
So the kids, they have the great outdoors to run around in. So
Nice.
like there are instances of us getting on each other's nerves. And we just need to go outside for sure. Yeah.
Get away from
it's
each other.
small. And there is electricity and heat, but the heat is not what Wendy needs it to be. So Wendy had to buy extra space heaters, and we're going to figure out a way to jerry-rig it so that the power doesn't go out when we run our multiple space heaters.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, like it's super, like I am so glad to just be away from like the city. We're just really glad to be here. I haven't run into any wildlife other than elk. I'd never seen an elk in person. Have you?
Yeah. Up in Flagstaff.
Well, it was a surprise at their size. Their size
big.
was
Yeah.
quite surprising. And
Yes. Not as big as moose, though.
I hope I don't encounter one of them. But
I don't know if there's any moose there. But yeah, moose are shocking.
Shockingly
their
large.
saws. Yeah, they're so big. Yeah.
Yeah. We were fools and left our dog's food on the porch while we were away. And I was on the phone with a client explaining, here's how a lawsuit works. Here's what you can expect. And a rat was just chilling in the dog bowl of food.
Oh my God.
And I screamed so loud. It was super unprofessional. This was this PA's first lawsuit of her entire life. And I think I ruined it or made her more nervous. Anyway, so that was a learning experience. But overwhelmingly, like me and old Whitey have just been sitting out on the porch like, this is amazing. Like our kids are doing great. They're on break right now, but it's just a really, really beautiful experience. And I feel really, really lucky that I can do this. Like I had a ton of meetings today. People noticed that my background is different, but I'm no longer in my house and still getting work done. So there.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting, friend. Friend, my battery didn't die. How much percent left? 38. We did it.
Look at that. We did it. Okay.
All right. I'm going to shut things down before they die. Remember that one time my computer died and we lost a whole interview with...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want that to ever happen
terrible.
again. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Stopping everything. Love you so much.
Love you too.
Is the pressure of your wedding day being perfect from sunrise to sunset weighing on your mind? Planning a wedding is stressful. But guess what? We are here to help. On the Bridechilla podcast, we celebrate love and help you plan your wedding day. We're all about keeping it real and having fun every step of the way. So whether you're just starting to plan or counting down the days, we're here to help you stay cool, calm, and collected. We have expert tips and amazing guests like wedding dress designer Haley Page. Let's get this party started and embrace your inner Bridechilla. Listen to Bridechilla wherever you get podcasts or visit us at thebridechilla.com.
24 hours ago, I found out the person that I'd been dating and seeing for the last 6 months as a con man.
That is my sister Emma. Andrew Tonks's lies had been so convincing, she'd invested $300,000 with him. However, the tables were about to turn on Andrew. What he didn't know was that Emma had discovered his real identity. But to get any chance of justice, Emma had to act like it was business as usual. Coming up in this series,
and that's when murder, all this stuff goes through my mind. I'm really, really scared.
I'm assuming Sarah has watched too much Netflix and figures I've been defrauding you. Couldn't be further from the truth. that's what this was, a real life story that seems so unbelievable, but it was actually true.
A true story that all starts with one simple swipe to the right. I'm Sarah Ferris.
And I'm Emma Ferris, and this is my story, Conning the Con.